Today we're jumping into Dragonwilds because during a live stream, Mod Doom on the Jagex team answered a few different questions, a couple of which I think were very interesting, and I'm going to break all of them down today. The first question that they get asked is, are they planning on rebalancing the signature weapons that they currently have in the game, being like the Staff of Light, the Crystal Bow, or probably the worst offender, the Abyssal Whip, and maybe making them either a little bit more challenging to obtain and or fitting them into a proper place in the game. A lot of people right now are complaining and saying that they're receiving this weapon way too early. You know, the Abyssal Whip inside of RuneScape is really, I guess RuneScape 3, it's like a mid-game weapon, but in old school RuneScape and from all of our nostalgic experience, the Abyssal Whip is really a high tier weapon, and a lot of people are complaining that inside of Dragonwilds, you're receiving this thing at a very early stage in the game. It'll be interesting how this gets rebalanced. You know, I'm not entirely sure how they can end up rebalancing it. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have any ideas. The next question he gets asked is basically, is the content that comes out for Dragonwilds going to be scheduled around old school RuneScape and RuneScape 3 content? You know, are they going to hold back on a Dragonwilds update because old school is getting ready to come out with an update? And his answer is that, you know, somewhat they're scheduling, you know, development in somewhat in tandem with each other. However, they're not going to hold back content for the sake of holding back content, was his basic answer here. Time will tell if that ends up playing out. And the next question is actually the entire reason that I made this video. It asks if they plan on adding in strength or defense into the game. His answer is no, and I think it's obviously no. It just doesn't fit into the game. At the end of the day, we're dealing with a survival game, and separating the melee combat into 3 separate stats is just really adding a layer of tediousness that people are not going to get behind, especially considering fundamentally training between strength and training between attack and training between defense. There is no difference between the training. It is just fighting at the end of the day, even in RuneScape and old school RuneScape, right? And because there's no difference, essentially this would just be tripling up the training for absolutely no reason. The same thing goes with a few skills as well, such as fletching, for example. You could easily add fletching into the game. However, crafting kind of already serves the fletching purpose, right? And now if you add fletching into the game, you're telling me that there's a whole new system that's essentially the same as crafting, but now I have to train that up in order to gain bows. It just doesn't necessarily fit. Some of the skills that people need to be pushing to come into Dragonwilds are things like prayer, fishing, farming, thieving, for example, or we can start pulling from RuneScape 3 and even throw some summoning into the mix, or some divination mixed with invention, mixed with dungeoneering. There's all sorts of things that could be added aside from strength and defense, right? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. A bit of a tangent here, but like I said, this was the question that made me even decide to record this video, because we're actually a couple days late on this whole thing. And then finally, they answer a question that we already know the answer to. Go ahead and check out the video that I made breaking down everything that's coming to Dragonwilds in the future. But the question is, are there any other familiar NPCs coming to Dragonwilds in the future? And the question could very well have been talking about, you know, other than death, because we know death is coming. However, the answer that he gives here is death, and that's basically it. I'm assuming, obviously, you know, they're gonna throw in more cameos. I don't see, the more the merrier, really, in my opinion, and the more that the game develops, just obviously the more that are going to come in. The last 2 questions, in my opinion, were kind of like obvious ones. Hopefully we can get some more hard-hitting ones down in the comments, like, hey, you guys thinking about working on thieving, perhaps? Like, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments and what you would like to see come into Dragonwilds. If you made it this far, comment and made it down below so I can give you an extra shout out. Be sure to hit like to help this video spread inside of the algorithm. I go live on YouTube and Twitch. Check the links down in the description for that. But that's all that I wanted to break down today. I hope you guys all have an amazing day. I'm out.